Welcome to Spirit Chat Radio with your host, Jennifer O'Neill, where the focus is to simplify the process of using the spiritual tools and gifts you were born with in a way that fits into your everyday life. Jennifer is a leading expert in the field of spirit communication and has spent the last 20 years as a professional psychic and spiritual teacher, helping people all over the world learn how to develop themselves spiritually through her books, podcasts, and her virtual learning center, Keys to the Spirit World. For the next hour, join Jennifer to discover different tools and techniques that will help you learn how to navigate the spirit world better and empower you on your own spiritual journey.
Aloha and welcome to Spirit Chat Radio. Today we're going to do a subject. I'm going to be talking about a subject that I've been getting a lot of questions on, and I felt like it just needed to have its own podcast at this point because there's a lot of information that I need to cover. Before I get into that, however, I do want to remind everybody, since I have had questions, I talked about it on the last show, people will sometimes, who are new to my podcasts or new to my groups or whatever, they'll say, what else do you do? What do you do? And so for those of you wondering, I do still do readings for now. My schedule is kind of crazy. I do mentorship. I offer classes. And if you want to find any of that stuff, if you're wanting to advance further on, your spiritual journey, you feel like you've gone as far as you can go and you really want to study about it more, you can go to my Keys to the Spirit World site. And a couple things. One is, I think that most of you would really enjoy my spirit community if you're not in it already. There is a button at the top of Keys to the Spirit World on the right side that says Spirit Community, and you can click on that and ask to join. We do a lot of discussions in there. I did a live streaming Q&A session the other day. It's a safe place for people to gather with other like-minded people and ask questions. It doesn't matter if you're advanced. It doesn't matter if you're new. There's so much information in the news feeds of discussions that we've had back and forth. I try to answer as many questions as I can. And it's turned out to be a really cool place, really high vibration place. We do monitor it to make sure it's not spammy. And just there's lots of juicy info in there, and that's the entire point of that place. And because if you are on a spiritual journey, sometimes people don't find that they have friends or family that they can talk to. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. But you would like to discuss some things that have been happening to you, or sensations, or something that might be a synchronistic thing, or you have questions about dreams, whatever it may be, we do a lot of this discussion in there. Also, I just want to remind everybody to definitely check out the YouTube Spirit Chat channel, because I do a lot of things for free and try to cover a lot of different areas for everybody, just to help those who are searching get proper information. And so as I do the podcasts, I also do some mini videos on Spirit Chat, or on my Spirit Chat YouTube channel. And those videos are shorter. I do post some of the things like the podcasts and stuff on there as well. But I will answer a lot of different questions in 10-minute videos in there as well as energy reports and stuff. And if you can't find that, all you have to do is go to YouTube and put Jennifer O'Neill and Spirit Chat, and I should pop up. Anyways, today we're going to be talking about physical signs of spiritual enlightenment. And the reason that we're going to discuss this is because, or I'm going to talk about it, is because I have gotten a lot of questions on this, and I know why I get a lot of questions. It's because this subject isn't covered as often. So when you begin a spiritual journey, or a journey on spiritual enlightenment, you're embarking on an awakening of some kind, spiritual awakening. You have a lot of things that start to take place, a lot of physical things as well as spiritual things. And I find that there's not a lot of information out there on the physical aspect of what happens to you. you can usually find quite a bit of information on what happens in the spiritual aspect, although I find that a lot of my students tend to be confused still because of the way that it explains it. They almost make it sort of not high-tech learning, but very advanced learning, to where then you're just confused after you read it anyways. So, but there's so much more information on the spiritual aspect that people don't really realize when they're having physical signs. And I think that that's actually a very important thing to know if you're going to be embarking on a spiritual journey, because also many times then you'll find yourself thinking something's physically wrong with you. You'll go to the doctor, find out that there's nothing physically wrong with you, then you're more confused than ever, and for some reason you won't relate the two together at all. You'll just think they're two entirely separate issues. But as everybody knows, your spiritual body, of course, plays a role, but your physical body just plays a very important role. It must learn how to adapt and adjust when you begin to raise your vibration and you raise your spiritual awareness. And the thing about that is your two bodies work together. So your spiritual body and your physical body work together. And the transformation as a whole must work in tandem. And so that's why I want to talk about this stuff today. And to sort of get you started, I'm actually going to start talking about your spiritual body. Because if you're not understanding that this is a whole entire transformation, physical and spiritual, you're going to see a lot of different things. I feel like it kind of holds people back when they're not understanding the physical aspect, and it keeps them from advancing as far as that they could. And it also can cause some blocks in different things. So in order to get into that, I'm going to break down the different roles of the spiritual and physical bodies. We'll get into the actual physical signs in a little bit here. But I know a lot of you who have probably followed me probably know things about your spiritual body, but for the sake of this podcast, I really do want to break this down a little bit more. So your spiritual body is your energetic body. The spiritual body's role is to bring your physical body to life, and it is the essence of who you are. And it is your energetic body. And it naturally knows how to work with the spiritual realm and how to align with the spiritual realm energy, because they're both energy. And so you have the spiritual realm, which is made up of energy, and you have your spiritual body, which is made up of energy. And so your spiritual body is the one who knows how to naturally work with a lot of the things that you cannot see. These are things that you're not taught about. There's, I would say the physical aspect of your life and what you're noticing is, oh man, I would probably say goes so far as to say it's 25% of all things existing. What you cannot see is way higher, 70 to 75%. And so working with your spiritual body and understanding its role can greatly benefit you and enhance your life, because you will have access to a lot of knowledge or things that you cannot see. But there are a lot of blocks that happen when working with your spiritual body. And this can be frustrating for people, especially when they're on a new spiritual journey. And so what causes blocks with your spiritual body? Well, your mind and your belief system forcing the physical aspect upon yourself all the time. So your mind and your belief system just assuming and just kind of refocusing and reinforcing the aspect of all things being physical, consistently trying to fit the physical into your life, the physical aspect all the time. Work being physical, and your car being physical, and bills being physical, and all these things. Constantly only focusing your attention on the physical, that is definitely will cause blocks with the spiritual body and the raising of vibration and all of that. It will cause it will cause the vibration not to raise as high as it possibly can, or it will cause blocks with you connecting with your physical and spiritual bodies. And I think that people do that because with the physical realm, you can't see, you can't see things in, how would I explain that? You can't see things in spiritual realm with the physical eye. So when we're born, we're trained and taught how to be physical. So basically, you're born into this world with a strong attachment into your physical body, with all this access or knowledge and all this access to the spiritual realm, and all this flowing of energy, this flowing of information. And when you're born, you're really taught how to, be in your physical body. You're taught how to walk, and you're taught how to talk, and you're taught how to be physical. And for babies and young kids, that works fine for a long time. And but when they begin to question things, and they begin to be able to form words and thought process and have conversations and whatnot, everybody starts training them how to be more physical. And so when they talk about things that are in the non-physical, and if you think about that, a lot of children and young adults talk about things in the non-physical, then what does everybody say? They're just like, oh, that's not real. And you're constantly told it's not real. You can't see it. You can't see it. It's not real. You can't see it. It doesn't exist. You can't see it. That's not true. Where's the proof on that? And that sort of thing. So it becomes very confusing as you move away from your spiritual body and you are trained to be physical. And so I will get back on track with the journey and the process of the spiritual enlightenment right after this break.
The cutting edge of conscious radio. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
Change and growth are part of natural life and also part of your spiritual life. Everyone needs support and guidance, especially during life passages. Upgrade yourself with the Om Times Experts program. With Om Times Experts, you have access to the best intuitive coaches, spiritual teachers, counselors, astrologists, and oracles. Our team was carefully selected so you can trust. Find out more at experts.omtimes.com.
Tune in to the Practical Intuitive, Mind, Body, Spirit for the Real World with me, host Robin Fritz, Mondays at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 Eastern. I'll cover personal and business intuition, animal communication, mediumship, space clearing, past life regression, shamanic insights, energy healing, soul choice, and more, all to help you tap your own intuitive and healing skills. No ifs, ands, or buts.
I am Fidel Nsombo. I was born in a city called the Bukavu in the Congo. We were a loving family, and then, boom, everything that I had disappeared in a single day. People think that when you are a refugee and they resettle you to America, your problems are done. They don't understand that that's the beginning of everything. I was not born a refugee. I was made one.
It's time we welcome refugee families with open arms. Learn more at embracerefugees.org, brought to you by the Ad Council.
Aloha and welcome back. So far we've covered some of your spiritual body's role and blocks and things that, how that whole thing works. And now we're going to be talking more about the journey, your spiritual journey. So basically, when people begin to embark on a spiritual journey and spiritual enlightenment, I find that a lot of people think that they're learning how to be spiritual or they're learning how to connect. When really that's not true. You already knew, you already were born knowing, so you're relearning how to tune yourself into the spiritual information, into your spiritual body. So it's not so much that that's just a form of perception. It's not so much that there's this information and knowledge that you never held and you need to learn and practice it. It's more that you've trained yourself away from it and you need to relearn how to do it again. And the reason that I even bring that up, it's kind of like a tomato type of thing, is because I think that makes it harder for people when they think that I think that some people think that they can't do it, or it's too far of a journey for them, or they'll never advance this far. And then I think that I'm finding with my students especially, when they start to get on that journey, they're sort of shocked, amazed, and surprised that they're advancing as far as they're advancing. And it's not because that you have to be like super smart and meditating every day and really get into some advanced information to be spiritually enlightened. You just need to really, you're your own worst enemy, truthfully. You need to really learn how to understand the spiritual realm and your spiritual body and retrain your brain and your belief system and yourself to tune back into who you are and the knowledge you already hold. And so the journeying involves a process, and again, it's going to involve both bodies. So you're relearning how to tune into the information that the spiritual realm holds and that your spiritual body holds. And you're relearning how to read and translate and compartmentalize this information. So what I mean by compartmentalize is, as you begin to raise your vibration, as you begin to, and I'll get into how people are raising their vibration, but as you begin to do that and you're embarking on your journey and you can feel your vibration raising, you will begin to then tune in to the spiritual realm and its information. But that information needs to be compartmentalized somewhere, and it needs to be compartmentalized with the physical body. So it needs to go somewhere in the physical body in order to translate into, your brain and the spiritual realm or physical realm and make sense to you here while you're on the physical plane, because we are living in a physical existence. So you need to relearn how to tune into the information, and then you have to relearn how to compartmentalize this information after you grab it. You need to compartmentalize it somewhere, and that's where part of the physical body comes in. And then you need to learn how to allow this information to flow to the proper area of the physical body. So the physical body is involved a lot in this, in a spiritual enlightenment, because your spiritual body reaches out, it connects in, it pulls information back to you, but it has to compartmentalize somewhere in the physical body, and you have to allow that information to flow to the proper areas, and then you will start getting signs and signals in the physical body that will translate the information you received. It sounds kind of complicated when I say that out loud, but it's not really. It's like grabbing the information, pulling it into physical, and translating it into physical. It'd be like, I don't know, if you Google, sometimes if you use the Google Translate, you grab information, you put it in the Google Translate button, you push a button, and it comes out in English, or whatever language that you're wanting it to come out in. It's similar to that. It needs to be translated into the physical. It doesn't always just translate quickly. It can, and you can train yourself to do that, but it needs to go somewhere, and that's where the physical body comes in. So in order to access this information, you need to learn how to raise your spiritual vibration, your energetic vibration. It needs to match the frequency in the spiritual realm. And so again, we're still talking about the spiritual body's role, and shortly we'll be getting into the physical body's role here. But in order to reach that information that you are then pulling in, compartmentalizing, and allowing to be read through the physical body, in order to do that, you need to match the spiritual realm's frequency. So that means raising your spiritual vibration. It's kind of like tuning into a radio station. Well, now it's a little bit different, but you remember the old radio station knobs or the TV stations, you'd be moving the antenna around, the old time ones. But in the old radios, you would turn the knob and keep turning it until you can match up that knob or that frequency to hear the radio wave, and you could hear the information coming through the radio. But you would always have to find that frequency with the radio knob. It's the same type of thing when you're working with your spiritual body. You need to learn to match that frequency. In order to do that, you need to raise your vibration, because the spiritual realm's vibration is very, very high. And a lot of people in the physical body, in the physical aspects of themselves, their vibrations are very, very low. If you're lucky, you're staying somewhere in the middle. Your vibration will always be moving. It's not something that I think a lot of people think, oh, once I reach this high vibration, does that mean I'm going to stay there and life's going to be better and I'm going to feel good? And yes, that would be ideal, but your vibration is always going to be moving. It's always going to be moving up. It's going to be moving down. It's going to be just constantly, floating around, depending on your perspective, mostly depending on your perspective and things that happen throughout the day. And so the goal is to keep it as high as possible most of the time, and or learn how to raise it quickly when you feel it lowers, because you want to be on the same frequency, right? So I've talked about this often, but happiness and doing things that you find joyful, that feeling that you get inside, that is your vibration raising. That is a high vibration. When you're feeling sad or depressed or whatever, that is a low vibration. So it's not hard to figure out if your vibration, it doesn't, and just cut out the spiritual knowledge altogether. It doesn't even matter if you are spiritual, if you're trying to be spiritual or any of those things. It doesn't even matter if you're just trying to advance as far as you can, or you never even heard of it, don't really care about it. The goal should always be to keep that vibration high, regardless of how much spiritual knowledge that you have, because the higher that you keep it, the more you're going to be in with universal flow and universal energy, and the more things are going to be flowing to you from all around and, working with you. And sorry about that. That's really loud. So that being said, you want to keep your vibration high, and happiness is the best way to do that. That really should be your gauge. How content and happy are you? If you're feeling content, you're right in the middle. If you're feeling happy and joyful, you're higher on that vibration on a scale of 1 to 10. If you're feeling depressed and sad, you're down towards the 1 and 2 scale on a scale of 1 to 10. So you want to constantly, if you learn nothing else about raising your vibration, you want to know that the best thing that you can do every day on a day-to-day basis is just keep yourself happy as you can. Make choices that align with your happiness and move towards happiness always. If you have a choice to do laundry or go to the ice cream shop with your kids, laundry will always be there, because guess what? You're going to have to do laundry next week and the week after and the week after that. So, move towards the joyful stuff as much as humanly possible. Well, that doesn't mean never do laundry, because, eventually you're going to need laundry. But you understand what I'm saying, because there's not always, I find it interesting that a lot of people make choice. There's not always a fun choice involved with all your other choices. But when there is, a lot of times people will choose the other choice just to be responsible. So that's kind of interesting to me, but moving towards happiness. And then awareness. Awareness is super key when it comes to keeping your vibration raised. And that is being aware of how you're feeling all the time on a vibrational level. So how often are you feeling happy? And that would be a good thing to keep note of from today and tomorrow and the next week, is keeping your iPhone, setting an alarm. That would be a really great idea, by the way, is to set an alarm 2-3 times a day that says, how happy are you? Or how high is your vibration? Or rate your vibration on a scale of 1 to 10. And by rating your vibration on a scale of 1 to 10, you're rating your happiness on a scale of 1 to 10. It would be very interesting for you to see how high are you keeping your vibration and how often are you keeping it high. So that would be very important and interesting to know. But just being aware of what also pulls your vibration down. Is it work? Is it people you're around? Is it what is happening there? And why these things are important is because now pretty soon we're going to be getting into the physical aspects of things. And as we get into the physical body's role, there's going to be a lot of other things that also we'll be talking about, or I'll be talking about, that comes into your physical health as well. Because people tend to think that their physical body and physical health is a very separate issue from their spiritual body and or spiritual health. and it's not. It's you know, your physical body is basically it's really interesting because it's a window into your spiritual health. And so I know I've talked about this before, but you don't even need to be psychic or be able to, know much about people's vibration. It'd be very easy to go to a mall or somewhere and you could tell where people are on a vibrational scale just by looking at people and interacting with them. You can tell if their vibration's high and you can tell if their vibration's low, just how their physical appearances and how physically healthy they are and your interaction with them. And that's really also important. So keeping your vibration high is key, and it's not as hard as you think because you're basically relearning this information. And we're going to get into the physical body's role. So your physical body, the role that it plays when you're on a journey of spiritual enlightenment is it translates the spiritual information that you receive. So let's pretend that you have now, you're very aware of your spiritual body. You're very aware of keeping the vibration high as best you can. You're aware of, your ups and downs with that. You are tuned in and you're feeling good about being aligned with the energy in the spiritual realm. You can feel it. Then your physical body's role that it's going to play at that point is translating the information into the physical senses. So you're going to be translating this information into thoughts. You're going to be translating this information into hearing. And there's going to be a few other senses that you're going to be translating it into. And I think we should cover that as soon as we get back from this break here.
Bringing a more conscious lifestyle to your world. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free, ascendinghearts.com.
Hello, I'm Lisa Berry. Join me every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time for Light on Living, a chance to see new, hear different, and feel more as I shine the spotlight on all the ways to lighten the load of life's challenges. Light on Living is your link to that new way you're looking for, that new understanding that will enhance your life, and that positive connection that will support your growth. So join me and you'll gain insight and start to see things in a new way that motivates you.
You're not wired to have a response to this sound. You're neutral to it, and you can hear it repeatedly without feeling anything. But when we introduce a new stimulus, save the food, we've achieved pulling a natural or inborn response from you. Save the food, because 40% of all food in the US never gets eaten. Save the food. Cook it, store it, share it. Just don't waste it. For tips and recipes, visit savethefood.com, brought to you by NRDC and the Ad Council.
Aloha and welcome back. So we covered your spiritual body's role, which is to match the spiritual realm energy and to vibrate as high as possible and bring you life, basically. And we covered a lot of that stuff on your spiritual journey. And now we're covering what I think a lot of people are missing, and that's the physical body's role, and what role it plays in spiritual enlightenment. And it plays a huge role because, as I was talking about before the break, its job is to translate this spiritual information through the physical senses. So when your spiritual body grabs this information and tunes into the frequency of any of the information that you're dealing with when it comes to spiritual enlightenment and or your spiritual awakening, what happens is it needs to compartmentalize it somewhere in the physical body so that that information can then be translated and read and make sense to you in the physical realm. Because things work different in the spiritual realm. It doesn't, although that you know all the stuff that goes on over there, especially if you're astral traveling and dreaming and whatnot, it is a little bit different when it comes to the translation part. The rules are different, and how things operate is different because you've been taught than the physical realm, because you've been taught so differently up until now. And so there is a translation process that happens, and that will happen through the physical senses, which is, through thoughts, pictures, things that feel like a memory, through hearing, which is pretty self-explanatory. You might hear with inner ear, you might hear with outer ear, through touch, where you can feel energy, you can feel different sensations, or a touch is coupled with pictures. And a lot of these things can be coupled with pictures or like what feels like a memory. And feelings in the body, which would be like primarily when you're dealing with downloading and receiving information, that's going to be in the chest, in the tummy, in the gut area. And something that I also think is really important to touch upon as we are getting into the physical body's role is why people would want to embark on a spiritual journey anyways. What information are you grabbing from the spiritual realm and then pulling in? Like, how is that helpful? What you're really grabbing and pulling into the physical body and translating, it can be a number of different things, but I feel like the most helpful things are access to universal laws and universal flow that help you make better choices in the physical realm. And so a lot of that would be guidance. So why it would be helpful to be spiritually enlightened, or to be, spiritually tuned into that frequency, isn't really just so that you see the world differently and you try to love everybody and, all of that. But it's understanding the world differently in a way that, helps you to release fear, helps you to trust that the world, that your life, that the universal energy actually works different than you've been taught. It helps to make life easier when you start to understand, when you begin to tune into the spiritual realm and you begin to see and feel and experience that things that are happening that don't make sense to you, when you begin to challenge your belief system and understand that things will unfold in your life when you change your perspective and your belief system, when you work with universal laws, when you try something different, because a lot of times things aren't working for people in their life right now. For a lot of you, life isn't working in feeling like the best version of you, because our job when we're born and to be here, besides to learn and grow, is to really be the best versions of ourselves. And it's hard to do that when you are in an unhappy place or your vibration's low and you feel stuck and you feel like life's against you and you're having a hard time moving forward because you just feel like you're pushing a boulder uphill all the time. When you're tuning into the spiritual realm and using your spiritual body, you're getting a lot more information of not pushing the boulder uphill, and how to bring a crew together to push the boulder uphill while you tell them how to do it. Like, it's very strange, and I know that sounds weird, but you get access to a whole bunch of energetic information on how things move and operate and manifest in the world than you probably have not been privy to before. And so that is why that's where a spiritual journey and a spiritual awareness is helpful. And also I think that people think that developing their spiritual senses and spiritual body is helpful, or they think that, I want to read people or be psychic or develop my psychic senses, where that all is also very helpful for you to do. it's not necessarily so that you can go out and foretell the future of friends and family around you. That's not the highlight of the gift. The highlight of that gift is really being guided in a way that you're like, I feel really guided towards this direction. I feel strongly about it, and that my physical body is responding also. So my physical body feels a really strong push to do this. So I'm going to try it. And then when you try it, it turns out really amazing, like way better than you ever even thought. That's what tuning into your spiritual sense is. That's why that is good. That's why that is a good direction to go. Because you'll test it, you'll try it, and you'll go, wow, that worked out really well. So then you'll reach for the spiritual information again, pull it into the physical body. Your physical body will also have a very aggressive stance towards that potentially, like a feeling, a very strong urge in its body. And then you'll go, well, last time it worked out, I think that we'll go this direction. Even though everybody's telling me to go that direction, I'm going to test this area out. And then something, bam, turns out really awesome again. And you're like, wow, like there's got to be something else going on than what I've learned thus far in life. Like there's something else, and I really need to explore this area of this new knowledge that I'm gaining. That's why you really want to embark on a spiritual journey. And that's why you feel enlightened, because you feel like, wow, there's all this information that I've been ignoring so far, and it's turning out to really work cool. Like this is feeling, I'm starting to feel like I have help and I have guidance. That's why. So when your physical body's role is to translate the information, as you can see, your bodies are then going to be always working in tandem. So as your spiritual body raises, your physical body must then adjust to your energetic body raising the vibration. So it's like one can't advance without the other. You cannot stay, your physical body cannot stay the same as your spiritual body advances and learns to tune in again. And the reason that this is, your physical body is always changing all the time. It's constantly manifesting new cells. It's constantly readjusting and changing from when you were little to toddler to middle school, teenage years, and on. So even though that your physical body may have been really adjusted and set to handle high vibration when you were younger, if you begin to grow older, toddler older, and your young adult years, and you have now rewired your physical body to adjust to a lower vibration, you will then have to recalibrate it to a higher vibration. So they cannot stay the same. If you're raising your spiritual body, physical body needs to adjust in order for that information to flow properly. So it has to match. And the interesting thing is, even though that you need to many times train your spiritual body to, and your physical, your brain to believe in things that you cannot see, that takes training, that takes a relearning to get rid of that old belief system. Your physical body doesn't need any training. It actually will naturally follow along. So that's the cool thing. That's one checklist off you don't have to do. So as you concentrate on raising your spiritual body's vibration, your physical body will begin to make adjustments on its own to match the new vibration of your spiritual body. So it will naturally adapt and adjust to your spiritual vibration. And this is really cool on a lot of levels. Your physical body will mirror your spiritual body's vibration. So if you have a good vibration and a good flow in your spiritual body, if your vibration is high and it's raised and the energy's flowing nicely through the spiritual body, that is going to equal good health, good physical health for you. If you have a blocked energetic flow, so let's say that you're trying to work with your spiritual body, but your belief system's causing you problems, and you can't seem to keep the vibration high at all times, and you're surrounded by a lot of pessimistic thinkers, and it constantly is bringing your vibration down, or it's causing you a block in your spiritual flow, that energetic flow. And how do you get blocks? You can get blocks by feeling angst or anxiety or different things, and I'm going to cover that soon. But if you're having a blocked flow, it's going to equal health issues, because, like I said, your physical body will mirror your spiritual body's vibration. So if you are stressed and have stress and anger in your vibration, in your spiritual vibration, because you are doing things that you are not wanting to do, you're not moving towards that happiness, you are moving towards something that is very irritating to you and that you're forcing yourself to do that doesn't feel good in your vibration, it's going to equal health issues. And so it's, as you can see from what I'm saying, it mirrors your physical body or your spiritual body's vibration. Then your physical body mirrors it. But if you're learning to raise your vibration, your physical body is then going to mirror it. It's going to raise its ability to receive this information and translate it for you into the physical body. So here's where it gets interesting. The physical body must adapt to work with a higher frequency, because this energy that you're going to be pulling in is kind of like wiring in your house. And I explain that to people all the time. When you raise your vibration, it's kind of like trying to run the 220 wiring for those guys out there through a 110. Like your physical body needs to adjust to pull in the high vibration energy, which is going to be a higher frequency, which means it's going to go hotter, and it's going to come faster, and it's going to come with more force. And so in order to handle this energy flowing hotter and with more force and higher, your physical body needs to rewire itself to handle that. And so we'll get into that a little bit as soon as we come back from this last break.
Your conscious connection to a more mindful world. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
Humanity Healing International is a small nonprofit with a big dream. Since 2007, HHI has been working tirelessly to bring help to communities with little or no hope. Our projects are not broad mandates, nor are they overnight solutions, but they bring the reassurance that no one is alone and that someone cares. To learn more, please visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Hi, I'm Kelly Fox, host and astrologer of The Astrology Show. Each week, I'll give you access to the current transits, which are a valuable tool that provide astrological information to help unlock the potential each of us has. Understanding the stars can help steer us in the right direction to make better informed choices. So if you're wondering what's going to happen in your week ahead, be sure to tune in to The Astrology Show for guidance. Mondays at 9 p.m. Eastern Time.
Listen, my life changed because someone was there to get me to use drugs. No one can understand. People think that having someone who will listen makes it better. I need help.
I'm listening.
I need help. I think that having someone who will listen makes it better. People understand. No one can get me to use drugs. My life changed because someone was there to listen.
Go to heretolisten.com for tips and tools to turn addiction around. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Welcome back. Okay, so we're getting into some really cool stuff now, the fun information, which is your physical body needing to naturally adjust, or it will naturally adjust, to your spiritual body's vibration. So these are actually, they're changing. When you raise your spiritual body's vibration, that energy is hotter and it's more intense, and the frequency is different. So like I said, it's like your physical body's used to running a low vibration most likely, or this is what I find happens with most people, not a low vibration, but like a lower than when you're consciously now working on raising it, right? And so it has adjusted to what it's been used to for many years. And now it's going to have to match. So it needs to, it will actually transform itself on a molecular level. It will rewire itself in its energetic system. So, and I'm sure you've heard of like acupuncture and your meridians and all that sort of thing. That's where energy flows through your body. And it will need to rewire and rework that whole energetic system that flows in your physical body in order to handle the intensity of a higher vibration. And when this happens, this is something that throws people for a loop. And it actually is quite interesting. It was interesting to me because it will happen in stages. So even though that you may have had this happen or you just are having it happen, it doesn't mean it's just going to rewire itself one time and then you're going to just be set for life. It can go in stages. If you raise your vibration to a certain level, it'll stay there for a little bit and then it'll rewire again later, then it'll rewire again later. So the amount of times it can rework and retransform itself on a molecular level can be however many times you keep raising your vibration to a new one too. So there are some really easy signs that you can tell when this is happening. And I find this kind of cool and interesting because people don't really know when their spiritual vibration is raising. They kind of know, but they think, well, I feel better. And some of these other cool things are happening. But what's really fun is when you get the physical signs, if you're not afraid and didn't freak out because you didn't know what was going on. So you can have a prickly feeling on your skin or under your skin, legs, arms, back of your neck, hot spots, burning hot spots actually, where it can feel like somebody, it is the weirdest thing, it feels like somebody is holding a lighter to your skin, but there's nothing, it doesn't feel hot on your skin, it feels like it's coming from under your skin. Swirling hot sensations, and like I said, these can be anywhere. These can be bottom of your feet. These can be legs, knees, back of neck, head. It can be arms. It can occur anywhere. Like I said, the burning sensation. So not just burning hot spots that would be smaller ones. They're usually about the size of a 50-cent piece when you feel those. It can be like a large area that feels like it's just kind of burning. Tingling sensation is super common. And there can be some like itching sensations that come in every once in a while, but they're usually coupled with like a tingly sensation. Ringing of the ears is, again, we've talked about this. I'm sure you've heard me talk about that before, but that is one of the most annoying ones. An open feeling or a gaping hole feeling. Those are usually down your back. Those are usually where your chakra centers are, because those are also beginning to open and close and adjust, and your physical body is adjusting to all of these sensations. So you can have prickly feelings, hot spots, swirling hot sensations, burning, tingling, itching, ringing of the ears, and like a open gaping hole feeling. Now, for those of you who are experiencing these, and I am assuming that you basically have a clean bill of health, because if you don't, most likely if you go to the doctor for these things, they're going to say, oh, you look really good. And then you're going to be like, wait a minute, what is this? And this is driving me nuts. So that very much those are very much signs of of your physical body raising with a spiritual enlightenment, spiritual vibration. So those go hand in hand with most everybody who's raising their vibration at some point in time. You may have several of them. You may have one or two of them. They may last a half an hour or 5 minutes, or you may have it every day for 6 months. I don't know. It just depends on the person. So the other thing that's kind of interesting that comes along with this is a lot of people do come across what they feel like are emotional issues when they raise their vibration. So vibrations, when you raise your own vibration, it will seek other like vibrations. Like seeks like. And mismatch doesn't feel good. So this is something that throws people for a loop. When, again, everybody always thinks of spiritual enlightenment and growth is going to be amazing and wonderful and it's going to feel awesome until you start having these burning, prickly sensations and the ringing of the ears and open, gaping hole in the back of your neck, and now you're feeling frustrated and unhappy and confused because these are some of the emotional issues that come with raising your vibration. So a lot of people will find as their vibration begins to raise, they were frustrated, they're unhappy, they're confused, they have the urge to change their life, they want something different, they feel depressed, or they feel isolated. And the reason for these things many times is because choices that you've made before you raised your vibration do not align with your spiritual body and its wants and needs. It just doesn't align with what you truly desire. You've been forcing yourself to do things which probably might be chasing money, or you might be a people pleaser, and so you're trying to please everybody, or you're trying to raise family and kids and all that, and you're really just trying to do the best you can at being a wife and a husband and a parent and all that, but you're choosing things that don't align with how your true happiness. That will all surface when you raise your vibration. It will pop to the surface and you'll be like, whoa, like what is happening? Isolation is very interesting because many times when you raise your vibration, a lot of times you will find you no longer fit in with family and friends' vibrations. Your vibrations no longer match. And that can throw people for a loop. Again, that's why I created the spirit community, to bring in some like-minded people that they can talk and discuss and feel a part of a family. Because it feels weird when you start not having things in common with people around you. And it's also might be that you have previously aligned yourself with people who are pessimistic thinkers or negative thinkers, and that will pull you back in your vibration. So as you raise your vibration, you will want to veer away from those people naturally. You might not even think about it. You might just naturally not want to hang out with them so much anymore. And because as your vibration raises, as you become aware of it, as your physical body changes and you begin to adjust, like I said, like vibration will seek like. And if it is not seeking like, and if it's not matching a like vibration, you will find that you're having emotional issues, frustration, unhappiness, confusion, the urge to change your life, depression, etc., isolation. So if you're experiencing any of those and you feel like you're on a spiritual awakening, it means that you are making choices that don't align with this high vibration, which means your happiness. You need to change some things in your life and kind of revisit who you have in your life and the things that you're choosing to do that is not bringing you happiness. I'm not saying go out and quit your job or get divorced or anything like that, or dump your friends and family. No, that's ridiculous. But you can plan for future changes in your job. You can maybe cut time with the people who are negative in your life, or redirect their focus when they're around you. You can be aware that these things are affecting your vibration that are causing you to feel that mismatch, which will you'll have a easy sign because of the things there. So there are some also emotional energy things that you should be aware of, which is you can tell how your spiritual body is feeling if it's high vibing by happiness. Happiness equals high vibration. Lots of energy being pumped. If you're pumped to get things done, that means your vibration is high. But if you're feeling very drained, that means your vibration is low. So, those are things that are helpful to understand when that you want to pay attention to the happiness and the drained feeling and the frustration and all that, because that is your cheat sheet window to, am I making good choices or am I not aligning with what works best for me? And if you change those things in your life, you will find that things will start being easier and things will come quicker and faster, and you'll feel more like the best version of you if you start being guided towards the good things. The other thing that people should know quickly is, because I'm getting to the end here, is separation between physical and spiritual bodies and them not working in tandem. There's a few signs of that. Anxiety, feeling lightheaded, or feeling out of body. That means as you're raising your spiritual vibration, your spiritual body vibration, and even if your physical body's adjusting, you're primarily working with one versus the other. Usually it's more the spiritual, and you need to bring the physical back. So if you're having any issues with anxiety or feeling lightheaded or out of body, that means your physical and spiritual bodies are not working in tandem. So you need to pull them together. Grounding works really well for that, so doing anything physical. And I did some grounding podcasting, so you can find that. If you're finding that you are experiencing other types of physical illnesses, one of the things that I'd like you guys to know is that means that something's not flowing with your vibration. So you are resistant to something, or you're experiencing, a lot of angst, anger, worry, and fear of something that you don't want, and you're offering resistance in regards to the choices you're making. So hopefully this was helpful to you. I feel that most of you on your spiritual journey will be experiencing a lot of these physical issues, and instead of being freaked out, as long as you're in good health, you can be like, cool, this is pretty interesting, and then hope it goes away soon. But join my spirit community. Check out keystospiritworld.com. Click on the spirit community. Go over to YouTube. Spirit Chat Jennifer O'Neill. Check out those videos. Subscribe. And until next time, have a wonderful day. Aloha.
Black Friday is coming, and for the adults in your life who love the coolest toys, well, there's something for them this year too. Bartesian is the premier craft cocktail maker that automatically makes more than 60 seasonal and classic cocktails, each in under 30 seconds at the push of a button. And right now, Bartesian is having a huge site-wide sale. You can get $100 off any cocktail maker or cocktail maker bundle when you spend $400 or more. So, if the cocktail lover in your life has been good this year, or the right kind of bad, get them Bartesian. At the push of a button, make bar-quality cosmopolitans, martinis, Manhattans, and more. All in just 30 seconds. All for $100 off. Amazing toys aren't just for kids. Get $100 off a cocktail maker when you spend $400 through Cyber Monday. Visit bartesian.com/cocktail. That's BARTESIAN.com/cocktail.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. And now I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from, with new games released each week. You can play for free, and each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply.